The message arrived while I was sitting alone at our small kitchen table, staring down at a half-eaten dinner I had made for myself just before my wife left for her girls' trip. The house was so quiet that I could hear the clock ticking on the wall and the refrigerator humming in the corner. Honestly, I was feeling okay at first. A little lonely, sure, but okay. I kept glancing at my phone, waiting for something sweet from her. Maybe a beach photo. Maybe a funny story about something her friends did. Maybe just 3 simple words telling me she missed me. But that is not what came through. My phone buzzed and I looked down, and everything in my world just stopped. One single sentence sat there on that screen. 7 words that made my chest feel hollow. It said, "I think we should get a divorce." I didn't move. I just sat there in that quiet kitchen, staring at those words like if I looked long enough, they would rearrange themselves into something different. I kept waiting for a follow-up message, something like, "Sorry, wrong person," or "My phone was acting crazy." But nothing came. No explanation, no second text. Just silence, the same silence that had been slowly filling our home for months. 14 years. We had built 14 years together through job losses and family funerals and hard seasons that would have broken most people. And she chose to end it this way, from a vacation she had been excitedly planning for weeks, through a tiny glowing screen while I sat alone with my cold dinner. My first instinct was to call her immediately. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted answers. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, that familiar surge of emotion that comes when something you love is suddenly being ripped away. But I stopped myself. I put the phone down on the table and just breathed for a moment. And somewhere in that breath, something shifted inside me. I started thinking about all the conversations we never had, all the times I noticed something was wrong and convinced myself it would just pass. All the times I stayed quiet because I didn't want to start a fight. I had spent years waiting for things to magically improve while problems piled up quietly between us, like dust no one wanted to touch. So instead of calling her 50 times, instead of sending desperate messages, I did something that even surprised me. I opened my photo gallery and started scrolling. I needed to find something that felt true to who I was before this marriage became something I was constantly trying to hold together by myself. And then I found it. A photo of me standing in front of the little wooden workshop my father built decades ago. That workshop meant everything to me. It was where my dad taught me how to fix things with my hands and how to be still and patient when life felt broken. It was where I learned that good things take time and that rushing never builds anything worth keeping. I posted that photo without writing a long dramatic caption. I just wrote 5 words underneath it. Starting a new chapter today. Within minutes, the comments started pouring in. People asking if I was okay, if something had happened, if I needed to talk. I didn't respond to a single one. I wasn't posting to make her look bad or to gather sympathy. That photo was a private promise I made to myself in a very public way. A reminder that my life would continue moving forward, no matter which direction she chose to walk. About an hour later, my phone rang. It was her older sister. Before I could even say hello properly, she said, "What on earth did you just do?" I told her I posted an old photo of my dad's workshop. That's it. And then she told me something that made my stomach drop all over again. She said my wife had been telling people she planned to come home and have a big conversation with me. The divorce text wasn't her final decision. It was a test. She wanted to see how I would react. She expected me to panic. She expected me to flood her phone with calls and apologies and promises to be different. She thought the fear of losing her would send me running straight back into her hands. I sat with that information for a long time after we hung up. I wasn't even angry that she might have wanted to leave. People change, feelings shift, relationships sometimes reach their natural end, and that is painful but human. What broke something inside me was realizing that she had turned our marriage into a game with hidden rules that only she knew. She was measuring my love by how desperately I would beg for it, and I had spent years unknowingly playing along. That night, I turned my phone off and slept better than I had in months. 3 days later, she came home. She walked through the front door with her suitcase and a look on her face like she already had the script of our conversation written in her head. But she stopped the moment she looked around the house. The framed photos of us were gone, packed away in boxes. Her belongings were organized neatly in one room, and sitting on the dining table was a folder. She asked me quietly what all of this was. I told her calmly that I had taken her message seriously and started preparing for what came next. She opened the folder and found paperwork, bank account information, important documents, the beginning of what separation actually looks like when someone believes you. She didn't look powerful anymore. She looked like someone who had thrown a stone expecting an echo and instead heard complete silence. Then she reached the last page. It wasn't a legal document. It was a letter I had written to myself months earlier during one of those nights when I finally admitted to myself how bad things had gotten. I had never planned to show it to her. But after everything, honesty felt like the only thing left worth offering. In that letter, I described the loneliness of trying to save something alone, the slow distance that had grown between us while we pretended everything was fine, how much I still loved her, and how exhausted I had become from feeling like I constantly had to earn my place in my own marriage. She read every single word without making a sound. When she finished, her eyes were filled with tears, and she whispered, "I didn't know you felt that way." After 14 years, we were strangers to each other's pain. She sat down at that same table where my world had fallen apart 3 days earlier, and for the first time, neither of us was trying to win. She told me that on her trip, her friends had convinced her that her unhappiness was my fault and that leaving was the only way forward. But when she saw my photo online and realized I wasn't chasing her, wasn't breaking down, wasn't waiting helplessly for her to decide my worth, something cracked open in her. She saw that her choice had consequences for a real person who was already choosing to live without her. We didn't fix everything that day. Healing doesn't work that fast, and we both knew it. Over the following weeks, we had the conversations we had avoided for years. Real ones, uncomfortable ones. We talked about loneliness and distance and all the small moments where we chose silence over honesty until silence became the whole language of our marriage. She apologized for the text. I accepted it. But I also told her that trust would need time and consistent effort to grow back, and she understood. Our marriage survived, not because I begged, not because she had control. It survived because we finally got tired of performing for each other and started actually showing up instead. I still have that workshop photo saved on my phone. Most people who saw it thought it was the day I said goodbye. They never knew it was actually the day I stopped abandoning myself to keep someone else comfortable. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a relationship isn't fighting harder. It's simply standing still, knowing your own worth, and letting the truth do what arguments never could.